Hey everyone, I'm Joanne Smith and welcome to Joanne's Corner. In today's tutorial, we're going to be making this Christmas stocking, and I'll show you how you can make the stocking from an old stocking that you have. I'll show you how to make the pattern for it and everything. So I'll show you all the supplies you need and then we'll get started. We have quite a few supplies this time. First of all, you're going to need an old stocking, and you'll need fabric scissors, you'll need paper scissors, and then I've just got some scissors to cut my threads with. Also, you'll need your rotary cutter, tape, 2 manila folders, and pins or clips, a ruler, a pencil, of course, your ironing board, your sewing machine, and also you're going to need fabric for your stocking. You can use fabric for the outside, and you can use quilt batting or fusible fleece, or you can do what I've done here. I bought this quilt online. It's very thin. Let's see if I can find the end of it here. It's a very thin quilt, and I've just bought this, and I've cut my pattern out of this, and that way it's already quilted for me and everything. But if you'd rather just use regular fabric, you can just cut out your fabric and then put your fusible fleece or your batting, attach it to the back of it, and then you can do your own quilting design on it. Also, you're going to need a piece of batting for your cuff, and of course material for your cuff, material for the lining, and then a smaller piece of material for the hook, the little handle hook thing that goes up in the corner of your stocking. The first thing we're going to do is take our 2 manila folders, and we're just going to open them and put them side by side. And then we're going to put some Scotch tape right down the middle and tape them together. I do recommend taping your folders on both sides. Next thing we're going to do is place our old stocking on here, and we're going to trace around it with a pencil. After you get that traced, then we're going to take our scissors for our paper and cut out what we've traced. And I wanted my toe to come in a little farther and then go up that way. So you just do however you want to with that. After you cut out your template, then we can put it on top of our fabric and cut that out. I have my quilt laid out and my template on here, and I've already started pinning. You just need to pin around your template, and then we're just going to cut out 2 of our outer pieces of fabric. I've cut out 2 outer pieces of fabric, and now I need to cut out 2 pieces of lining. So just use the same method to do that. So now we should have 2 outer pieces and 2 lining pieces. Now we need to do a piece for our cuff. To do our cuff, we need to measure the top of our stocking across through here, and mine is 9.5 inches. So the piece of fabric that you cut for the cuff needs to, well, it's going to be folded like this. So if I fold that in half, this is 9.5 across, and this is 10 after I fold it. So that should give me a little wiggle room there when I put the cuff on there. So I have cut my piece 10.5 inches tall by 20 inches wide. And then you're going to need a piece of fusible fleece or quilt batting. And you just want this, like when you fold it halfway, you want to have that on the inside so it'll make it feel a little thicker in there. And with this piece, you should have about 1/4 inch going around each edge. So I cut my piece of batting 4.5 inches tall by 19.5 inches wide. So what we're going to do next is attach this to our fabric. Either if it's fusible fleece, you can just put your bumpy side down and put it on there and iron it on according to your directions on your package. Or if you want to use some basting spray, if you're just using quilt batting, we can do that. Just that's what I'm using. So we're just going to pull that back and spray And just press that down, and then just do your other side. And then we're going to place this right side up, and we're going to fold our cuff over to where our batting is outside at the top, and we're going to run a 1/4 inch seam from the top down to the bottom, and you can backstitch at the beginning and backstitch at the end. Now that we've sewed our line down through here, we're going to flip this fabric over our batting, our fusible fleece, and just kind of line everything up. Line up our raw edges down here at the bottom. After we get it all straightened up, our raw edges will be up at the top and should look something like this. And I like to put my seam over here to the side, and we're going to lay this aside for the moment. But if you want to do any kind of stitching, any decorations or anything, you can do that. I took a piece of this excess fabric, and I just drawed out a letter and just cut it out. And then I placed the letter on here and just went around the letter, just stitching the outline of the letter, and just sewed it on the one side, like on the front here, just kind of center everything. And you can do that. You can do whatever you like. This is the J that I made for my last stocking, and I just cut out the shape of a J, and I just stitched right along the outside of the letter. That's all I did. I've cut out a letter out of my scrap fabric, and I'm going to find the center of this and pin it, and then I'm just going to sew a stitch right around the letter around here, and be sure that you're just sewing on one side of this and not all the way through. So that's what it looks like with the letter sewed on it. And it is a little tricky trying to maneuver it around in your sewing machine when this cuff is already sewed up. So I would recommend just folding it over before you stitch up the side. It's a lot easier that way, but I mean, it works. I did it this way, so just whatever you're comfortable with. Next, we're going to join our outer pieces of fabric right sides together, and we're going to clip all the way around, and we're going to leave the top open, and you need to just back stitch at the top corner and sew all the way around, and then back stitch at the end. Now that we have this sewn, I'm going to trim off some of the bulk around the edge, and what I did, I ended up going with just the right side of my presser foot instead of a 1/4 inch. I think it works out a little better that way. But I'm just going to take my pinking shears and just trim around this edge, and I'm not going to cut into my stitch line, just go along the side of it. And now you just need to reach in and turn your stocking. That way it's right side out. And just reach your hand in there and poke out all of your seams. Just kind of run your finger along the seam line. That helps poke it out. Oops. It should be looking something like this. And now we're going to press it, and I may go down to this toe and poke out those seams a little more down here, but you get the idea. So we're going to press this, and then we're going to start on our lining. Now we're going to sew our lining fabric together, and you can't tell whether this is right side up or right side down because it's the same on both sides, so that's okay. But what we're going to do, we're going to clip it or pin it all the way around, leave our top open, and you're going to start a back stitch up here and sew all the way around, and then we're going to stop and back stitch. We're going to leave about 4 or 5 inches right here, and then start right here and back stitch again, and then sew up to the top and back stitch. So we're going to leave an opening there, that way we can turn our stocking. And you can sew 1/4 inch, or you can go by the right side of your presser foot, which is what I'm going to do. I've sewed my lining, and I'm going to take my pinking shears and just trim the bulk of this again, just like we did our outer fabric, but I'm just going to trim down through here and then trim out. I'm going to leave this alone and then start trimming here and just trim the bulk off. For the hanger, you need a piece of material that measures 3 inches by 7 inches, and we're just going to fold both sides over about 1/4 inch and press those. And then we're going to fold it in half and press that. And now we're going to take it to our sewing machine and sew right along this edge, about 1/8 inch stitch. Now it's time to assemble our Christmas stocking. You should have 4 pieces: your outer fabric, your lining fabric, your hanger, and your cuff. We're going to take our cuff and place it over our outer fabric and make sure your raw edges are facing up. And just put this over top of that. And we want our seam over here against the seam of our stocking. And then we're just going to clip all the way around. Next, we're going to take our hanger and fold it in half. And we're going to place it on the back of our stocking. And maybe, let's see, I'm just going to place it about 1/2 inch over and then clip it. And now we're going to stick our outer fabric down inside of our lining. And this can be a little tricky, but just take your time and just put that in there. And if you need to, reach through this hole and just keep working it until you get it all the way in. You can just reach down in the main stocking and poke it down in your lining. And then we just want to line up these side seams again. And just go all around the top here. And I'm just going to use my same clips and just clip all the layers together. And just make sure all of your raw edges are lining up. Now I've got it all clipped around the top, and I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot to go by and just sew all the way around. I'm going to start in my seam, and you just need to back stitch and then just sew all the way around and back stitch again. Next, I'm going to take my pinking shears back across the top here where I've sewed and just trim off some of that bulk without trimming into my stitch line. Now it's time for my favorite part, and that is turning our stocking. So just reach in this hole in your lining and gently pull out your stocking and your cuff. Should be looking something like this. And next we're going to get a hold of our lining and push in our seams, or press in our seams. You can finger press this in about 1/4 inch, or you can iron it, and if you need to clip it or pin it, that's fine. And then just take it to the sewing machine, and we're just going to close this up. Anytime you close up a hole like this, be sure to pull on both sides to make sure the hole is completely sewed together. Then we're going to take and stick our lining down inside our stocking. Now we can take this to our iron and we can press it nice and flat, and that's how you do it. That's how you make your own pattern for your own stocking. If you've enjoyed my tutorial, please like it and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you soon.